You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rojance for our Black and White Sports. Let's talk about the U.S. soccer teams, both of them, because there's a relation to the men's and women's team in this story, because the women just got awarded equal pay to the men's team. However, when you start breaking down the numbers, you're like, wow, what'd you do? Literally just throw a fit or virtue signal your way into getting equal pay? Because we know the way sports is set up, it's a revenue-generated business. It's a viewership business. The amount of ratings, the amount of revenue you generate equals how much you get paid, i.e., the NBA obviously has much higher ratings than the WNBA, and in return, the salaries are proportionate to the revenue and the ratings. I mean, and look, the NBA ratings still aren't anything to write home about, but they're much, much larger and have a much wider audience than the WNBA. Same thing here in soccer, okay? So, look, when your star sports, they're known more for their sexual preferences than their soccer skills, you got some problems, in my opinion. U.S. Soccer agrees to pay men's and women's teams equally, and that is Megan Rapinoe. U.S. Soccer Federation announced Wednesday that it has agreed to a deal to pay players on the U.S. women's national team the same as it pays players on the U.S. men's national team. The collective bargaining agreement will run through 2028 and includes, quote, equalization of World Cup prize money, according to the NPR. Good God, the NPR. Help us all. The contract comes after several years of efforts by the USWNT to force the Federation to deliver equal pay between the two teams. The agreement will also afford women players $22 million in back pay. Quote, we hope this agreement and its historic achievements in not only providing for equal pay, but also in improving the training and playing environment for the national team players will similarly serve as a foundation for the continued growth of women's soccer, both in the United States and abroad, said U.S. women's soccer player Becky Sauerbrunn. The pay scales between the two teams have, quote, identical economic terms, the Federation reports, which includes equal pay for annual salaries, incentives, and tournament plays, including 2 World Cups. The teams will also have the same deals and revenue sharing on ticket sales. Quote, this is a truly historic moment, U.S. Soccer President Cindy Parlow-Cone said after the announcement. These agreements have changed the game forever here in the United States, and they have the potential to change the game around the world. While the agreement is being called, quote, equal pay, the deal actually heavily favors the women. Women's soccer has far fewer fans, both watching on TV and going to stadiums. The 2019 Women's Cup, for instance, reached a record high of 1.12 billion viewers across the world. That may sound like a lot until you realize that year before, the Men's World Cup earned 3.572 billion viewers worldwide and earned $6 billion in profits. Good grief. The earning disparity is nothing new either. For example, the 2010 Men's World Cup earned $4 billion in revenue, but the Women's World Cup that year only earned $73 million. Men's soccer reaches far more fans and earns far more money from ticket sales and sponsorship. But if women are now being paid the same as male players, that means the women players reap greater benefit rewards for bringing far less income into the league than their male counterparts. So, exactly, what is the justification from a sports standpoint and a revenue standpoint? What is the justification for having done this outside of perception and optics? That's it. I mean, let's be real. It kind of seems like that some of these social statuses that players like Megan Rapinoe have, and let's just be honest, her virtue signaling her sexual preferences everywhere and taking these social stances, they have kicked and screamed and threw their fits into a way of getting paid the same amount of money as men without being nearly as valuable to soccer monetarily. And look, I'm sorry, but if it doesn't make dollars, it does not make sense. And this is utterly ridiculous. We're going to generate not nearly the same amount of interest as our men's counterparts, but we're going to get paid the same. Wow. If that was look, if that was actual, like, NFL, NBA, MLB, if it was one of those kind of leagues and they, the women's counterparts, if they just decided, we're going to up and pay the women the same as the men in the NBA would have to pay for all of it. The WNBA literally does not generate enough revenue to pay the women equal amount as the men. Plain and simple. They're just not, the interest is not there. And by comparison, the interest in women's soccer is much larger, because it's on a world scale, than the WNBA. But the pay still should not be the same as the men if you don't generate the same interest in money. Period. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Again, rewarded because we took a public stance, threw a fit, and used our mainstream media prop-ups, and that's what it is. All the, Megan Rapinoe's been on Vanity Fair and all these magazines, Subway commercials that they couldn't keep showing her in because people literally decided they wasn't going to go there anymore because of her. You get the point, okay? It wasn't because of soccer. Tell me what you think, black and white sports fans. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.